Hi, welcome back to my channel. Today, I would like to talk about the books that I've read so far this year. A little fun fact about me, my goal for this year was 60 books because last year I read 50. And I was like, you know what, let's go crazy. Let's add 10 more to the list. I just could not get into the headspace to read, and I think there was just something in the air because I heard many creators on TikTok talk about the reading slump that they've been in this year. I've read 20 books this year. My goal is 26. That's the fourth goal that I've changed it and brought it down to. I posted a video on TikTok basically saying that I need to give myself grace for not meeting my goal this year. And somebody commented on my video saying that every year she tries to do her age. So since I am 26 years old, I thought it'd be fun to do 26 books. I do have 6 more books to read, and today is the 14th. So I don't know, we'll see if I get to, I'm just going to read a bunch of novellas. But here are the 20 books that I finished. I'm also going to include the ones that I read. There was, I think maybe 4, well, there was many more than 4 that I started and stopped, but the main ones that I started and stopped and will eventually come back to, I'll include in this video also. I'm going to go in order from the first book that I read this year, kind of show you the progress that I've been going through this year. The first book that I started off, which was a reread. I'm not the biggest fan, or I guess it doesn't really matter about being a fan or not. I just don't usually reread books, but because I'm obsessed with this book, for some reason, it's one of my guilty pleasures, and that is Bride by Ali Hazelwood. This was my first ever paranormal romance with a vampire or a werewolf. So it was nice to have both of them included into the storyline. I first listened to the audiobook when it first came out on Spotify, but I hadn't read the physical copy yet. And I had it on my bookshelf and I've been wanting to go back to it, so I decided to read it for my first book of the year. I love this book. I would recommend it to anyone. Like I said, it's a guilty pleasure of mine. I haven't read Mate yet, but I will be doing that very soon. I think that will be the first book of the new year that I will read just to get my Ali Hazelwood fix for the new year. If you don't know anything about the storyline, basically it follows Misery, who is a vampire. She is this daughter of a vampire mayor, city man, leader of vampires. Basically, he forces her into an arranged marriage with the alpha leader of the werewolves, and his name is Lo. So she goes to live with Lo and his pack with other werewolves. It's a will they, won't they, tension, don't touch my wife kind of vibe. Like, it's so good. At the beginning of every chapter, there's a little thought that he has about misery, or just like in life in general, but it's mostly about misery, and it's so cute, and I love it. Because I was obsessed with Bride, I wanted to continue reading Ali Hazelwood, so I decided to pick up Not in Love, and this one was a disappointer for me. I don't know, I think it was because there wasn't a true relationship to build on, and it was just straight lust from the beginning. Like, one night stand turned into friends with benefits, but not even really friends. But they weren't actually enemies, so I wouldn't say that they were enemies with benefits. It's just kind of like he was doing something that she didn't like. There was just a big miscommunication and misunderstanding the whole book. It wasn't the best for me. I didn't hate it, but it's definitely the weakest book that I've read from her. So after Not in Love and my disappointment, I wanted to pick up Deep End from the same author, Ali Hazelwood. There was a bunch of discourse on TikTok discussing this book and that it was the most lustful book that she has wrote. Part right here. I got that much into the book and I just was not feeling it. It's not because it was a bad book. Things didn't even really happen yet. This is when my slump started, and we're just at the end of January. But I will go back to it, so I have it in here as a soft DNF'd, and maybe I'll pick it up at the beginning of next year. Because I did hear good things about it. I just also heard like it was one of her most, I don't know, sexual books that she's written. So I haven't even gotten to anything yet to even know what's in it. After that, I tried to stay away from contemporary romance, so I decided on fantasy. And I wanted to read this book before the third book came out, and that is Fourth Ring by Rebecca Yarros. I tried reading this book, and the words, like the fantasy words, I just really wasn't used to reading. Like, I'm not that big into I am now. I can process thoughts, Hannah. I now do love fantasy, but when I first started this book, I don't know if it was just because of the terminology. I just couldn't read it. I couldn't understand it. So someone had told me that there's a graphic audio, like dramatic narration of this book. So I was like, I'll give it a go. I downloaded Audible because I got free credit for my first book. However, the dramatic narration is broken up into 2 parts. I only got a free credit for the first part of the book. Halfway through the book, it stopped. Luckily, the second half was on Spotify. So I was just kind of tabbing. As you can tell, I have tabs in this book. I was intrigued and I was like, oh snap, that happened, or oh my gosh, that's crazy, kind of thing. Like, there is notes that I have in this book, but I think if I tried to sit down and actually read this book, I would have DNF'd it, honestly. But because I had that dramatic narration going through my mind, like as if I was soaring in the sky with my dragon and fighting in leathers with Violet, I liked it. I enjoyed it. So I decided to pick up Iron Flame because of the cliffhanger of Fourth Wing. Also, I started Fourth Wing because I thought Onyx Storm, which is the third book in the series, was the last book in the series. So I'm like, might as well start the series. How many times have I said series? Jeez Louise. Might as well start this whole Fourth Wing fiasco when the third book comes out. Well, the third book comes out and then I find out that it's actually part of a 5-book series that is supposed to be written, and she's taking like a 2 or 3 year hiatus after the third one came out. So I've tried to stay away from as many spoilers as I can. Obviously, there's some pretty big ones that I've heard, but hopefully I'll forget them. But this is another soft DNF because I didn't have, like I said, access to the dramatic narration because I had to pay for it on Audible, and I didn't want to pay extra because I already paid for the book. Why would I pay for the audiobook as well? And at the time, they didn't have access to it on Spotify, so I put the book down and moved on with my life because I just literally that much. I barely made a dent. Then, because I couldn't finish a fantasy book, I switched to a different genre, which was dark romance. I read the first book in the Maid series, which was The Sweetest Oblivion, and I really enjoyed that book. I almost gave it 5 stars, but the miscommunication trope, that kind of took me out of the book, but I really did like it. However, I didn't continue to the second book. I decided for some reason to read a completely different book in the dark romance genre, which was Wolf by Paisley Hope. And that one was okay. I wasn't the biggest fan of that. It was about a motorcycle biker club, and he was like the ringleader or the head biker man. I'm blanking on what the terminology of it is. I'm not up to date with my biker lingo. However, it was just another dark romance, just kind of a palate cleanser. Usually I read dark romance to get me out of a slump. I think I rated that 3.5 stars. Then I decided to go back to the Maid series and read The Sweetest Obsession, and I love that one. That's my favorite one in the series. I mean, there's only 3 books out. I don't know if she's going to continue with the series or not, but the second one is my favorite. I love Christian Alistair. I love Gianna. They are perfect. I love a fiery female main character. I love her so much. And the way that he is literally so down bad for her is crazy. He's a Russian guy who's hired to work for the FBI. I know it doesn't make sense. I only say that because when I was trying to apply to FBI school when I was in college, FBI school, that's not... When I wanted to apply for the FBI, it said you needed to be an American citizen, so... That's why I say it. He's so obsessed with her. He went to therapy because of her. He had her hair tie around his wrist for years. So good. I love him. After that, I tried to get into the new release of Great Big Beautiful Life by Emily Henry, and I DNF'd it. I think I stopped it right when the older woman was going to talk about her story and her life. It reminded me of Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. I've never DNF'd a Emily Henry book. I just didn't feel in the mood to read a story like that, and so I put it down. I want to eventually go back to it, but I just don't know when that will happen. Then, because I didn't know what I wanted in life and summer had just started, that is when I read One Golden Summer by Carly Fortune. I loved this book so much. I thought it pulled me out of a reading slump, and I was so excited. I thought the world was my oyster. I thought I was back, baby. I could take on the world. Little did I know that I would read one more book and go back into a reading slump, but we'll get to that. This follows Alice. She is taking care of her grandma. She is a people pleaser. She does everything for everyone. Her grandma falls and breaks her hip, so she's kind of feeling down, her grandma. Alice decides to cheer her up and go to Back Bay, which is a small little town on the lake, and take care of her. Alice is a photographer, does not like the work that she's doing, so she thinks that maybe this could be a good break for her as well. There, she meets Charlie, and Charlie is the older brother to the male main character in Every Summer After. So you kind of get an understanding of who Charlie is, kind of, in the first book, but this dives in so much deeper into who he is, his character, his golden retriever vibes, his flirtatious, charming personality. And Alice, I love Alice. Alice is me. I really did understand kind of who she was. She was just trying to crave that nostalgic summer. And I really did enjoy this book. I thought it was great summer vibes. Like I said, nostalgic summer. Some people didn't like this, and that's okay. But this was one of my favorite books that I read this year. Following the summer vibes, I went in and did another reread for the year, and that was Happy Place by Emily Henry. I was recommending summer books, and I recommended Happy Place, and I was like, you know what, for some reason, Happy Place is calling to me. When I first read it, I really enjoyed it, but the miscommunication trope in this book really pissed me off, and the ending I did not like. So I was trying to keep an open mind going into reading this book, and I loved it. I'm pretty sure I rated it 4.5 stars, so I bumped it up, I believe, half a star, which is still good, you know, after rereading it. Could have been knocked down, but it was raised. This book follows Harriet and Wynne. They met in college and started dating. They've been dating ever since, got engaged. They are the epitome of a perfect couple when it comes to them and their friend group. Harriet's favorite place is this summer beach house that her friend's dad owns. Every summer, they go to this house and they just create the best memories. She goes to this house to see her friends, and Wynne is there. They broke off their engagement, but their friends don't know that, so they have to fake date this whole vacation. You see flashbacks of when they first met, with them in college, and then where they're at now. And I do love books do that with the dual timelines. It's one of my favorite things in books because I feel like I understand the characters better. If there's just one timeline, it's okay, but I feel like the author has to do a lot more to describe what's going on and the history behind the characters. But with the dual timeline, you get to see into the past. I really enjoyed this book just because of the whole friendship dynamic. It shows how you've known friends for a long time, but you know what, paths go different ways. If you want friendships and relationships to last, you need to put in the effort, and you can just see how life kind of gets in the way of putting in effort. The friendship in this book is what I just adore, but I also enjoyed their relationship better. I liked the ending this time around because I understood, maybe it was because my frontal lobe was fully developed now, that I understand where Harriet was coming from when it comes with the ending. But overall, I enjoyed the book again. I went back to the third and last book in the Maid series, which is The Darkest Temptation. And I like that one also. It was really good. It reminded me of Beauty and the Beast with the whole Stockholm Syndrome thing, so I did like that. It is the epitome of opposites attract. He is literally the Russian mobster. The Devil is his nickname, and she is this sunshine, blonde, favorite color yellow type person, and the opposites, just, it's so good. He will do anything for her, and I love it so much. She shows him how to love. Then fall came around, and fall is my favorite time of the year. Fall is where I thrive. I peak in the fall time. I had all of these expectations, such high hopes for the fall books that I wanted to read. However, that didn't happen, so I decided to do another reread, which is crazy for me. 3 rereads in 1 year for a girl who doesn't reread any books that she's ever read. That was Haunting Adeline by H.D. Carlton. I don't know why this was calling to me. It was like I put it into a dark corner and I heard it calling my name and I just couldn't run away from it. So I decided to read about Zade Meadows and Adeline Riley. Adeline, I believe, well, no, I've read some pretty dumb dark romance female main characters, but at the time, granted, it was the first dark romance that I've ever read, but I hated Adeline. I thought she was the dumbest character that I've ever read. And I'm like, why doesn't she call the police? Why didn't she do this? Why does she taunt him? Why? Girl, why? And then I read it again, and she's still dumb to me, but she called the police more than I remembered, so I'm like, okay, pat on the back, but still, girl. But there's something about Zade Meadows. Like I said, it was my first dark romance, so I think I'm like stuck forever to this book. It's created some dark hole in my soul that I just can't get rid of. If you know nothing about this book, which it's a very controversial book for good reasons, definitely don't have this be the first dark romance book that you read. But this follows Zade Meadows and Adeline Riley. Adeline is a indie author. She's doing a book signing one night, and Zade stumbles upon her and is immediately infatuated with her. More than infatuated with her, he's obsessed with her. More than obsessed with her, he well, whatever's more than obsession. Basically, he stalks her, he breaks into her house, he leaves her flowers, he leaves her roses around her house, but also like taunts her and scares her and some other things that I can't mention. But overall, I think it had great potential to be such a fantastic book, but the author made it just too cheesy. But I think the cheese is what makes it a not that good of a book, but also another guilty pleasure that I just can't not read. So if you like dark romance, I would give it a go for sure. But if you're dabbling in dark romance or hate dark romance, I would heavily recommend you to say no to this book and run the opposite direction. It takes a different breed to definitely understand this book. And I'm not saying that I understand it and that I am said breed, but there's something about it, like I said, that's addicting. So going into the Halloween route, because we were getting closer to Halloween, I wanted to read more Halloween books. And like I said, there was ones that I wanted to read, but I just could not get into the headspace. So I followed the novella route. I was like, one, it'll help my reading goal. And two, they're quick, short stories that will hopefully help me get back into reading. So the first novella that I read was a part of the Scared Sexy collection, which I hate saying that name, but there's 6 short stories, novellas, that different authors wrote. 3 of them are about like paranormal human stuff, and then the other 3 are like monsters and stuff. So I didn't read the monsters one because I'm not there yet to read about a romantic relationship between a human and a monster. Maybe next year I'll be there, but for now I didn't really feel like reading it, so I just stuck to the 3 about angels, vampires, and voodoo. So the first one that I read was Hot for Slayer by Ali Hazelwood. That was my favorite one that I read. I wish it was longer. I would have read a full storyline with these 2 characters. I thought it was very interesting. She is a vampire and this guy is a vampire slayer. He has been chasing her for centuries and she always gets away. So one day she's fighting with another vampire. He is there, ends up getting a concussion and forgetting completely who she is, and so she's taking care of him and he doesn't know that they're sworn enemies. I think it's a crazy concept, but I really did enjoy it and I thought it was really good, and like I said, I wish it was longer. The second one that I read in that series was by Christina Lauren, and that was Falling, and I didn't like that one. That one was the one about angels, like a dark angel. I am still kind of confused on the concept and the storyline of what was happening in that book. It was really boring. And that's crazy to say about a novella because you have to like get to the point and have things make sense because it's such a short storyline. So for it to be boring and not make me follow what the heck is going on, and maybe that's a me thing, but I had no idea what was happening and I didn't like it at all. So I think I gave that 2 stars. Then the third one that I read was Spicy Little Curses by J.T. Geisinger. I like that one. That was my second favorite one out of the 3 that I read. This one was about a reporter who goes to this little voodoo shop in New Orleans because she doesn't believe in magic. She goes out and does stories on paranormal things that she just doesn't believe in. So this guy that she meets at a tattoo shop has some type of disappearing ink or something. Like I'm kind of blanking on what's happening, but he's cursed and they're trying to figure out how to fix this curse. That's basically the whole storyline without giving too much away. The next novella that I read that's not a part of the series was Scream for Us by Molly Doyle, and that was my second Why Choose Romance that I've read, and I learned that Why Choose Romance is not for me. And you know what, that's fine. I just think that everything that the guys say in a Why Choose Romance when it comes to them trying to be flirtatious or sexy, that it's just so cringy, and I laugh hysterically. Like there was one time I was reading this and it's supposed to be like erotic and things are happening, but I was crying laughing at the things that these guys were saying, and I know that wasn't supposed to be the goal. But that's just me. So I finished it. It's about these, I don't really know what's happening. Basically, this girl is super lonely, super depresso, and these 3 guys see her in the party and then just becomes infatuated with her. One guy in particularly really enjoys her, and they're at a Halloween party. So the 3 guys are dressed as Ghostface, Jason Voorhees, and Michael Myers. The last novella that I read for Halloween was Carving for Kara by Melissa McSherry, and I hated this book. I hated it a lot. I thought it was so bad, and I was very glad that it was a novella and it was super short, but I thought it was terrible. The main male character is obsessed with her, but in such a weird way. Like, I want to live in delusional land that this guy was living in, because they didn't even have a conversation yet, and he was like, yeah, we're meant for each other. We made eye contact for 0.3 seconds, and she's obsessed with me too. I mean, I might have thought that at one point when I ran into someone at the grocery store, but did I stalk them? No. The next book that I decided to read was Rook and Rebel by Kate Crew, and I enjoyed this book. I thought it was entertaining. There were some moments that I thought fell flat, but it's another dark romance, so I don't really have high expectations when it comes to dark romances. It's another book that is about a biker gang, and he follows her and likes her. That storyline is also kind of all over the place, but like I said, it was entertaining, and I think I gave it 3 stars. I started and I stopped many books, so I really won't go into detail about the ones that I went in, but basically I just finished 3 books. 2 of them are novellas. 1 of them is a normal one. The normal one that I read was He Knows When You're Awake by Alta Hensley. I didn't know that it was a second book in a series, so I read that first thinking it was the first book, or I didn't even know that there was a first book. I thought it was just a standalone, and then I found out after I had finished it that it was the second book in an interconnected standalone series, so I didn't really enjoy this one. I thought it was boring. After a while, they just kept going in a circle over and over again, and it just got super repetitive. Could have been way shorter than it was, so I think I gave that one 2.5 stars. Then I jumped to novellas because I realized how close I was to my goal, and I was only 5 books away. My camera died. Anyways, the 2 novellas that I read were from the same author, and the first one that I read was A Very Stalker Christmas, a Spicy Holiday Novella by Layla Faye. I was just picking and choosing what was on Kindle Unlimited. I didn't do any research. This was not recommended. I just found, hey, novella, Kindle Unlimited, why not? I read it. It was okay. For a novella, I thought the storyline was interesting. It was short, sweet, fiery, straight to the point. Wasn't too bad. It's hard for me to rate novellas. It was either entertaining or bad, and that one was entertaining. Then I read the second one from the same author, and that is A Very Killer Christmas. It's about this assassin, this contract killer who is running from the police and runs into this woman's house. He thinks that there's no one inside this house because it's a little run down, so he goes inside and hides. Little does he know that there's a woman who's a gamer, and she is very lonely during this Christmas season, so she welcomes him. I didn't really like this one that as much as the first one. It was weird. The female main character was very strange. Now I am reading the first book from Alta Hensley, the one that I didn't know existed, which is He Knows When You're Sleeping. It's another stalker romance. I don't know, that's why the ones that I found that have to do with dark romance are stalker romance when it comes to the holiday season, but I guess that's the ones that I'm trying to hurry up and read. I don't really know why I just gravitated all towards stalker romances. I need to read a normal one. I do like He Knows When You're Sleeping better than He Knows When You're Awake. I think the storyline is better. The female main character I liked a little bit more, and the male main character is a firefighter, so that kind of speaks for itself. I'm also currently reading The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue by V.E. Schwab, and I am loving this book. I'm taking it actually pretty slow, reading it and absorbing the dialogue, the storyline. It switches different time periods with the character. I'm listening to it on Spotify as an audiobook. I'm also reading it on my Kindle and highlighting things. I have the physical book that I'm highlighting and tabbing things. I really enjoy this book, and I'm very excited to continue reading it. I definitely want to read more of her stuff going forward. And those are all the books that I've read this year. That was kind of long. One genre that I did read and didn't pick up because I didn't want to read a single book from this category was my nonfiction self-help books. I did start this one, Everything I Know About Love by Dolly Adderton. I think I might do this one as an audiobook. I feel like that would be better to listen to the storyline instead of reading about it, but I got a good amount into the book, but like I said, the slump was so bad, and then like my brain switched and said, nope, I don't want to read this anymore, so I stopped. I just couldn't get back into the headspace to want to read it. Hopefully next year will be better with my reading goals and just wanting to read. Like, I guess wanting to read wasn't the problem. I did want to read. I just didn't know what mood I was in when starting to pick up a book. There's so many other books that I really wanted to get to this year and I just didn't get to. But the thing about, next year is I can start a new goal. If you like this video, please like and subscribe for more videos to come. If you want to follow me on any other social media platforms, I will have them linked down below in the description. This might be my last video for 2025, so if it is, I hope you have a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, and I'll be seeing you in the new year. Bye!